You're right.
Because he was in Rocky Horror Picture Show as well, right?
Yeah, I think he originated that role on stage and then played it in the movie. But, bummer. A lot of good people. And Louis Anderson, watch Baskets if you've never seen Baskets. Baskets is great.
That's on FX, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Great show. He's also in Coming to America, right?
Yep. He's like Employee of the Month.
The McDowell.
And now it's time for the weekly recommendations.
Let's jump into Rex.
What do you got for me?
Well, I said I would have a Sidney Poitier movie for you, and I have a really fun movie from the early 90s called Sneakers.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another movie with a great cast with Robert Redford and Poitier and Dan Aykroyd, David Strathairn, River Phoenix, Mary McDonnell, Ben Kingsley. Is that all the guys?
I think that's just about all.
It's like they're like a little security agency that are tasked with recovering something. It's just it's a really fun caper movie, and the cast is really great. And it's one of those movies that I don't think made like much of an impact, but it's kind of got a big cult following. I'd be curious to see how much of a hit that was when it came out. I remember watching it in the theater and loving it, but I just rewatched it again recently, like within the last 6 months or so, and great movie, a lot of fun.
What year was that?
92, I think.
Okay. I remember having the VHS for that.
Yeah. It's really good. And then my second one is a Taika Waititi movie called Boy, which I just watched recently on it was recommended to me by Joel, who's a big Taika Waititi fan. He's the one that kind of introduced me to his movies.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember when What We Do in the Shadows came out, and I watched it and really liked it, but then Joel was like, "Oh, dude, that's Taika Waititi. That's one of my favorite directors. You should check out his other movies." So, I've seen everything since, but I really hadn't seen anything that he made before that. So I think Boy is from 2010. It's about a kid growing up in New Zealand, and he's got like kind of a deadbeat dad who re-enters the picture after many years, and that's Taika Waititi, who's really good at playing like a shady deadbeat character.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place like in the mid-'80s, because they keep making references to E.T. and Michael Jackson. But really funny movie. I enjoyed it a lot. And there's like some funny bits in it where you can kind of see the other Taika Waititi characters that he would play later on in his career kind of come through. And then there's another one where he's telling the kids like not to get into the Nazi stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which got a big laugh because then he made Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
A couple years ago.
He did Eagle vs. Shark, right?
Yeah, which is one that I haven't seen yet.
But
it's on my list, and that was another one. Eagle vs. Shark and Boy were two that were highly recommended to me by Joel. So I did watch Boy, and Eagle vs. Shark is on the list. Watch Sneakers and watch Boy.
But yeah, Animal Kingdom is a rad,
good movie.
Great movie, incredible directorial debut,
mm-hmm.
for sure. Solid cast. I think this was their Guy Pearce and Machad's first working together,
mm-hmm.
right? Basically, it's about this young teenager whose mom ODs, and he's forced to kind of be brought into the fold of this. How do you say, like a
crime family?
Mm-hmm. A lot of great word of mouth, right, when it came
mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah, and I think Jackie Weaver, who plays the matriarch of the family, I think was nominated for an Academy Award, and it kind of put her on the map in the States, at least.
Yeah.
We were talking about this just prior to air, and Guy Pearce was already established in Hollywood by that time, but I think Mendelsohn really hadn't done much. in the States, and Sullivan Stapleton hadn't done much in the States. Edgerton really hadn't done a whole lot besides popping up in like the last act of, I think, that Star Wars prequel movie, the third Star Wars prequel. But yeah, it kind of those guys kind of got known in the United States off of Animal Kingdom. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
I'm pretty sure that most of them, besides Guy Pearce, became known and kind of established in Hollywood off the strength of Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, because Mendelsohn would go on to do Star Wars, right?
He's in
Place Beyond the Pines.
Place Beyond the Pines. He's in Killing Them Softly.
Yes.
Just a year or two after Animal Kingdom. And The Dark Knight Rises. He's in that for
right.
a few scenes. And then Edgerton, kind of the same thing, where
doing a lot. The Gift.
Yeah, he starts popping up in movies just after that. That Thing, the
Black Mass.
Yeah. A movie that I think is super underrated, Midnight Special.
Oh yeah,
and he's great in it. And the same director did a movie called Loving with him and Ruth Negga. That was fantastic. I think Animal Kingdom was the kind of stepping stone to Hollywood for most of that cast. And Jackie Weaver, who's great in Silver Linings Playbook. The same time that Mendelsohn starts blowing up, about a year or two after that. And she's great in Widows, which is a movie that we don't shout out enough, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, we just need to do a show.
We'll do a show on Widows.
On Widows. But yeah, Jackie Weaver, super sinister mother in this one.
And she has some shades of that in Widows, too. In a couple of scenes, she has those shades of her performance in Animal Kingdom.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
So this week is, of course, Pawlak's monthly takeover, which we are going to be talking about the Rover this week. It's rated R. It's from 2014, if you could believe that. It's a drama. 1 hour and 42 minutes is its runtime, and it's got a 67 on Rotten.
It should be higher.
Yes. Written and directed by David Machad, starring Scoot McNairy, Robert Pattinson, and of course the great Guy Pearce. The film is set in Australia 10 years after a devastating economic collapse that has left the outback and the world in complete disarray. When Eric, a hard-edged ex-soldier, has his car stolen by 3 men during a robbery, he sets out on a mission to retrieve his car while using the younger brother of one of the perpetrators to point him in the right direction. The story was first conceived back in 2007 with Machad and Joel Edgerton coming up with a bare-bones treatment, which was at first meant to be directed by someone else. However, Machad continued to write and flesh out a script whilst working on other projects such as Animal Kingdom, and became hugely attached to the Rover and decided he would make it his follow-up project. Production started on January 28th of 2013 in southern Australia and proved to be difficult due to some of the harsh weather conditions. With many of the background characters and extras being natives, the overall tone feels very authentic and somber, with the dystopian feel carrying over into almost third world country territory. With the character of Eric having been written with Guy Pearce in mind, it's very clear that no one would have felt quite as right, as Guy is able to display so much pain and anger without even saying very much at all. His body language is one of the very clear highlights here. Whereas Robert Pattinson is coming in from his obvious Twilight and Harry Potter fame, looking to make a real name for himself, and that he has. By 2014, he had already done Remember Me and Water for Elephants, 2 solid movies that showcase Pattinson as much more than a teen heartthrob. Coming into this was, in a lot of ways, the start of his indie darling status, as he stuck with largely obscure roles for most of his career. Overall, The Rover is one of the best films that unfortunately seems to continue to fly largely under the radar, but if you're looking for a grounded and haunting road film, look no further.
Good one.
Alright, dude. So, I know this was pretty much the kickstart of our year for the monthly takeovers. So I want to know, why did you decide to pick this film specifically to kick off 2022?
Well, this is a movie that you asked me to do a while back, a year or two ago. You know, when I wasn't doing the show as often. And for some reason we just never got around to it. So when thinking and planning out like the calendar for 2022, I told you I was kind of on the fence about doing a January movie just because I double up in December. And it's, you know, it's a lot of work for me and research. But there's just so many movies that I want to talk about and want us to cover that I figured, you know what, we'll do a January film, but we'll do one that you and I both love, that is very underrated, and something that you had asked me to do before. So I said, how about we do the Rover, since that's something that's come up a few times before. It's one of, I shouldn't say one of my favorite movies, that would probably be a lie, but one movie that I really, really enjoy, that ever since I remember seeing the first trailer for it, really being like, oh, that seems like my kind of movie, and really wanting to get into to watching it. It was my second favorite film of 2014.
What's your first?
Nightcrawler.
Oh, that's right.
And then I think Gone Girl probably rounds out the top three of my 2014. Love this movie. There is something about like post-apocalyptic dystopian Australia that always seems to get it right. You know, this very much has a feel of the original Mad Max. You know, where it's kind of like this could really be how it is, you know, post collapse, a war. And then we know this is an economic collapse. It's what, like a gasoline shortage in Mad Max that kind of sets that tone and that world in the original film. So very much, I think the two, although this is much more grounded in reality than Mad Max eventually becomes, but if you go back and watch the original, it still very much seems like this could really be how it is. But I love this movie. Guy Pearce, so good in this movie. Probably in my top 3 Guy Pearce performances.
Care to share them all?
I mean, Memento. He's fantastic. Maybe a tie between The Proposition and LA Confidential. The only reason I wouldn't throw LA Confidential for sure in the number 3 spot is because that's kind of an ensemble. He's one of the 3 main characters in the movie, but he's not the main. Like, he's not the lead of the film, because he shares that with Russell Crowe and Kevin Spacey.
Have you ever seen Ravenous?
Only pieces.
Oh, okay.
Get it? Pieces? Only parts of it. Haven't seen all of it. But I was trying to look through the IMDb and see like what other Guy Pearce movies could I stack up there with this one.
He's in Factory Girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in Factory Girl. He's in a bunch where he's just kind of like a bit player. He's not the lead. But as far as lead performances go, yeah, this and The Proposition and Memento, and I will shout out LA Confidential because I love that movie. But he's awesome in this movie, and like you said, he conveys a lot of with just the body language. There's dialogue in the film. He's got a great monologue, which we can get to shortly. But in total, not a lot of dialogue.
No, for him being pretty much the main character, he doesn't have as much dialogue as you would expect him to. But when he does talk, it's epic, the way that you were saying. But I feel like he totally he uses like his body as the tool. So even just like very simple things like the way that he walks and certain, like